Good morning, Nick. We're gonna get in trouble for two people now. We had some people sign on and make some arrogant comments. I took them off. Uh, I don't believe they do that because they think it gets. No, I don't think so. It's an awful lot of work. See, we had two and we went to one. That's why I watch that a lot more carefully now. And if you've not been a subscriber, you can't post at all anymore. And if you're posting a message, I can see it first and say, "Yeah, just silly." But I think it's a healthy thing. Magicians are kind of odd that way. So I love Song about dreams. Not it. We get rid of you, and we go over here. Nope. Yep, that's the one. Oh heavens, that was silly. We go back here. Not just us right now. I gotta let me check here real quick because if I don't turn off the email, it's going to go ping, ping, ping all morning. And I didn't want to do that. Here, and let's do this again. There it is. Calling all stations. Clear the air lanes. Clear all air lanes for the big broadcast. Don't miss Fanguli tonight. Good heavens, is it a stinker? It comes from the period that gave us movies. I was a teenage Frankenstein. I was a teenage werewolf. And the star in that one is Michael Landon from Ponderosa and Little House on the Prairie. Uh, How to Make a Monster, which brings the two of them back. And this one, Blood of Dracula. I posted the, what do they call that? The preview uh, from YouTube. And you got rock and roll music, and you got guys duking it out, and you got girls with those bullet bras on, and you've got a horribly ugly monster. And I still don't know where Dracula is. Uh, but I think it's American International that gave us all those Frankie and Annette Beach things. But it's bad. And sometimes bad is a good idea. Sometimes bad is good. Well, good morning, Nick. I don't know who else is coming. Like I said, a couple of people are coming over and they're making fun of the fact that nobody's here sometimes. I had a guy say, "You shouldn't talk to yourself." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me give you the perfect example of how most magicians are total jerks. If you watch my video, the comedy magic video, you'll see me open. Hey, Sam, good to see you. And what a wonderful mix of colors for your balloon pump. Outstanding. And we're going to do some really good stuff. Get yourself, if you can, oh, I would say about 8 to 10 foot of rope and some good shears. And I'm going to walk you through the very best rope routine. And yeah, I sort of created it. Uh, I showed it, I did it as it's a long story. My very first Burger King performance, they lost the luggage. So I couldn't put Burger King costumes on. I couldn't do any of those things. So I just went out and did my act. And Mark Wilson and his crew were there to sort of show me how to do everything. And when that rope trick was over and I had finished my set, Mark Wilson himself came up to me and said, "I don't believe the rope trick." And I said, "Mark, before you leave, I'll teach it to you." And he had a wonderful time. And I'm going to teach you that too. But to quickly show you, if you look at some of the video on my tape, it's shot in a studio. The studio is up in Quebec, and it's all magicians in the audience because I'm performing and I'm lecturing and I'm doing the uh, prediction chest. And I'm going around and I come to one magician and we're counting invisible coins. And I say to him, "Now, with you, we're going to pick quarters. Now, you don't have very many there. How many do you got?" Now, he knows we're filming. He knows this is important. He says, 15. I wanted to stop, break something, throw him out, and start over again. You have got to be an ignorant and arrogant asshole to do that during a filming. What did I do? Well, it's edited because it went a little long. I said, 15, huh? How many of them are heads up? It's going to have to cut it at least by half. And the smaller one, I said, okay, we'll use the ones that are tail side up. That's, you see, that's only 5 or so. Pick up a few. And again, if he tries to go big, I'm going to say, okay, you left 2 in your hand. you jerk. But it's magicians who do that. It's never laymen. It's always a magician trying to mess you up. In my career, I've run into it half a dozen times. And I think I've told you the story before about when Don Viano got T boned and he had a whole week of escapes to do at Oakland Mall. And I'm the one who said it. And I said, look, Don, you're hurt, you're beat up, you're bruised. Let's just go with gimmicks this week. And so we had a gimmick Abbott jacket. And at one of the shows, of course, the mighty John Oliver, the only legitimate successor to Houdini. He comes up, grabs the straitjacket, exposes the gimmick, looks right at Don and says, how long have you been an illusionist? Because you're not an escape artist. Now, this guy started studying karate because he thought that made him a tough guy. I walked right up, got an inch from his nose. Get off of this stage, or I will throw you off. He left. And eventually we ran into each other, and I said, hey, John, how's that karate coming along? Oh, yeah, I'm good. Okay, good. Because you and I are going to step outside now, and I'm going to kick the crap out of you for what you did to Don. Did you know he got T-boned? Serious accident, was hospitalized, and we just had to get through a show. But you're the only legitimate successor to Houdini. Yeah. Horrible performer, total ass, but it's a magician that will do that stuff. Today's first part of the lecture is I am going to reinforce what I keep saying. And then I'm going to tell you why there is such animosity towards it. But again, if you call yourself a magician, if you are saying, I am a magician, I guarantee you, your audience, the people who are going to sign your check, are not saying, oh, you need to touch our hearts. We are hiring you to come here and move us all emotionally. I know Copperfield said it about a couple months ago, maybe a year. And I say he's full of crap. He must have Alzheimer's. Because what brought David Copperfield to the dance was when he vanished that jet. Because the next morning, all across America, every shock jock, every morning zoo, everybody who was on the radio was asking, where the hell did that jet go? And it would have stayed there until LA woke up and some guy who was on the show told his girl how it was done. I guess he felt that way he was going to get laid. And she called the radio station and tipped the whole thing. And then the whole thing went. So what did we learn from that? Number one, that it is fooling people that make your mark in the world. And revelation is what takes it away. So if fooling people is as important as it is, and it is, what do we do about the morons who are making money on YouTube exposing magic? Now, before I give you the ultimate way to handle it, let's start here. We all know that over on the FCM a couple years ago, Dissecto got exposed and heavily talked about because that's how Justin Flom and Rich Flax make money. They don't give a crap about the art of magic. They don't care what it made for them over the years, and still does. I constantly see Rick is creating tricks and selling them to Penguin. And I'm getting ready to have a Facebook group that exposes every trick he creates. Why not? I read his letter to the FCM, or basically he thumbs his nose at everybody. We're too old. We don't understand. They're moving magic forward. Well, okay, Rick, I'll start exposing your stuff and let's see how much it moves you forward. Is exposure new? Of course not. Everybody forgets that Daryl Fitzke wrote three main books on magic, a whole bunch of lesser ones. Everybody talks about showmanship for magicians, and they talk about it because he talks very little about performing magic as magic in there. It's all about the ancillary things that make your show look better. Then he wrote The Trick Brain, and that's why most people stopped reading. That is a difficult book, and I'm not so sure why he did that. But the last one is I'm sorry, the last one is Magic by Misdirection. And that book is 100% how to fool people with magic. I suggest reading it. I would suggest you guys, just for one example, watch Houdini Lives Again. Again. See what I did there? And notice that I never leave the stage, but when it's time to do the straitjacket, I take my sport coat off, and there's no bird cage there. And I opened with that. That bird cage is long gone. And that's important because that's how you fool people. But we can go back to the Camel cigarette ads, look them up. But the more important thing to look up is when they exposed the add a number slate. That trick was in the Dunninger show. Dunninger claiming to be a mind reader, not a magician. And I'm sure that caused great consternation among Dunninger and his crew. And yet, it didn't take long. He had full page blown up of that particular Camel cigarette ad. They were all through the lobby. When you came in, if you didn't know that, you knew it now. And it's interesting to note that years ago, I think when I hit 50, so that's 19 years ago, I was married to Laura. We went to the Holly Hotel for my birthday, and we saw the amazing Kreskin, two performances. I won't get into the whole thing. But in his performance, he did the add a number slate. And he screwed up. People could see the numbers. And when he had done the switch, uh, somebody in the audience recognized that his number wasn't on there anymore. Now, that's bad because if Kreskin had done Dunninger's handling, that can't happen. What did Dunninger do? Dunninger said, here is the kind of slate they are talking about. And he showed the gimmick slate. And he shows it. Yeah, I'm going to switch the numbers. And then you add it up and it's not there. That's very interesting, but that's not what I do. And he tossed that one off stage, or I'm sure somebody was there to catch it so they could use it again the next show. He brought out another slate. Now, Kreskin had a great line. He said, we don't use calculators because you can program those things to give you any number you want. So we're going to use very old technology. Now, this is what Dunninger did. He took the slate, walked around towards the front, and had four-digit numbers selected. He then went back to the stage, which is where he switched the numbers, and had somebody add all the numbers up, and on the big blackboard on stage, write the total. Then he said, now the question is, did I switch the numbers? And he went back to the audience, switching them back. Who the hell can add 4 rows of 4-digit numbers in their head in seconds? He switched it back, goes to the first guy. Is that the number you gave me? Yes, it is. Run the eraser through it. Is this the number you gave me? Yes. Third person, is this the number you gave me? Last person, is this the number you gave me? Well, you've just erased all the numbers. You go back up on stage. This is easy because you wrote it down, but is this the number you wrote up there? Yes. So it would be impossible for me to move things around. Absolutely. And then the envelope that was at the top of the theater or in a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Wagnall's back porch or whatever is opened, and he's got the number. Do I need to spend any more time with this, guys? First, in modern magic, the exposures began on Showtime with Harry Anderson. He did tricky bottles and he exposed the gimmick at the end for a laugh. Pissed the hell out of Carol Fox. Don Viano had the epic answer. We were all out to dinner talking about it, and Don said this: well, I've never had to expose magic to get applause or respect or oohs or ahs. Maybe he does. Whoa, what a smack. And then, of course, very, very rarely remembered, there was a big fat guy in a mask on the Friday night ABC show called Fridays. And he started this. He exposed the linking rings. Now, was that Penn Jillette under all of that stuff? I have no idea. But he wasn't there long. So it may have moved into that. And then, of course, we get into Penn and Teller. And before I get into this in a much better way, if the exposure leads to something, I guarantee you Dunninger did that slate with that new routine for the rest of his life. That exposure isn't an exposure. If you go into Tarbell, I think it's Levant, exposes the key ring and wonderful, Sam. Boy, are you going to have fun. Search on YouTube. There's a bunch of routines that are not on that video. So you've got a long way to play. Going back, people are doing this. If the exposure leads to something, the classic, which I'm going to teach in a second, is the sucker silk to egg, made famous. It was originally in a trick called Kling Klang. It's in Tarbell 2. And basically, a silk and an egg change places. You show how the trick is done because you have a hollow plastic egg. You show them that, and then, of course, you break the egg. Now, you didn't always do this part. You just did it, and that was the trick. Somebody complained about that when he saw Mark Wilson do it. It ruined his trick. Well, no, you're just trying to extend the analogy, and you're failing. Because you could look in Tarbell and see that somebody added the sucker ending, and Mark Wilson just said, well, let's get rid of all of this and just keep the ending. If it's leading to a miracle, I'm all for it. One year I was watching Penn and Teller on some award show, and they were going to make Teller vanish. And they were exposing all sorts of magical methods, the V-shaped mirrors, the deceptive steps, all sorts of things. So now it's time to make him vanish. And he just jumps out of the way of the box. Well, what benefit was there then to expose all those things? None. Okay, give me just a second. I got to get something. All right. I have done sucker silk to egg. Put this down. I got to quickly pee. I'll be right back. All right. Okay. Now, hang on. You go there. Yeah, these are the dots with the Velcro on them, and these silks grab onto those hooks. And this is a major pain in the tuchus. Here. Okay. Yeah, this will work. Okay. Here we go. So when you go through YouTube, we're down to one. Who's still here? Anybody just post and say hi so I know where we are. Ah, Sam's here. Gotta believe Nick's here. But Nick may be on his cell phone and having troubles. Now, when you go through YouTube, you'll find the channels where these, I know they say they're professionals, but they're just amateurs. Oh, see, it says one, but there's two. Um, and they're exposing magic because they've got a setup, just like Justin Flom and others, that if a certain number of people watch for a certain length of time, they get ad revenue. Uh, Justin, I guess, is getting pretty good money. So, this before all, it doesn't matter to me if you're selling your virtue for $5 or 5,000 a pop. You're still a whore. I wouldn't want to make money that way. Ah, you can do that too. I do it all the time. I use my my iPad, but yeah. But I go on, let's see what they're exposing. And you will always have two choices to avoid them. Sam, he's a whore. That's what he does, and everybody else like him. Here's how you be. I mean, when he says to everybody, "Oh, my color changing bandanas are way better than Billy McComb," because when that handkerchief is half dyed, they know that you switched them. Well, sure, Justin. Are you saying that when you do that crappy bandana thing that looks so thick that anything could be happening, you're saying they believe it's actual magic? I've done half dyed Hank for over 50 years. I know how the audience responds. Sure, they know I switched them, but they have no idea when or how. So here's what you do: you either outspend them. I don't recommend this one unless you're independently wealthy or you won the lottery. But you start buying some of these gimmick coins that are six, seven, $800. You won't find somebody buying that and then exposing it on YouTube. Or outwork them. Make it look impossible for their method to work, just like Dunninger did. So, to that end, I have been doing sucker silk to egg for about 50 years. One year, long ago, I was married to Judy then, not not Laura. This was way before Laura. And we're doing a union haul for Christmas. And I'm doing the sucker silk and egg, and I'm doing it the Tarbell way. I've got the hollow egg, I've got the real egg, I've got a dye tube, and I switch all those things around. Well, I'm getting to the part to do the switch, and I reach in the pocket, and the egg shatters, and it's the real egg. So now I've got gooey egg running down my leg, and I can't finish the trick. So Judy's there to break the egg in the glass, and I had to lean over and say the egg is broken in my pocket. Well, she started to laugh, so she left, and she told the two guys who were with me, I was mentoring them. They start dying, and I just vanished the handkerchief at the end and moved on. But I said, I don't want that to happen anymore. There's another great story, but we're backstage and she's cleaning me up, and my pants are down to my knees, and she's wiping and cleaning, and she's between my legs on her knees, and the guy with my check walked in, and he got a totally different idea what was going on. But I talked about this to Carol, and Carol said, Tripper, let me think about that. And then one night at the kitchen table, he showed me what I'm about to show you. And this is on the Carol kitchen table tape. Now, I have to say that the late Bev Bergeron said he invented this. Carol didn't do it. And towards the end of his life, as Bev spent a whole lot of time talking about how many times and things he was ripped off. I've always taken the attitude, two minds, but a single thought. It happens. I don't worry about it. I just go on. But, I would say easily 20 years into doing it, when I was doing comedy clubs, Viano told my friend Rich, I've watched Mark do that silken egg for years, and I have never seen him switch that egg. I have never seen him do the switch. Somehow he's doing something and I can't catch him. Okay, this is what you get. I bring this up, Sam, because you were showing the Oriental Trading fake egg goo, and I showed you how you could do that. Uh, there was originally a Zimmerman egg. Couldn't find those anymore, but I could find the one from Vernay. Um, Eggs are expensive. If I did this a lot, uh, now the only thing I didn't do today is I usually use a little round red, oh, not post-it, but office supply dot to put on there to take it off later. But these here are very thick and solid, kind of like ramekins. They go into the oven at 400 or 500 degrees. So it's not going to go anywhere. The egg, which is a real egg, is wrapped up in the handkerchief. And then usually I put something around this and it goes in the bag. So the egg can't bounce around and break in there. If I was doing this a lot, you go to a camping supply and they've got egg holders for you to bring eggs when you're camping or backpacking, and they protect the eggs very well. But this is all you need. And the script is all Billy McComb. And the methodology, as far as I know, it's all Carol. But I'll remember Bev, because if he did come up with that, God bless him. It wouldn't surprise me, considering how many times Mark Wilson was doing it, and he was there and probably came up with a suggestion to avoid all the other stuff. Okay, here we go. Now, the egg is in the middle of the handkerchief, all wrapped up. When you set up to do the show, you carefully take the egg out, lay it down in the jar, and then put the handkerchief on top of it. Personally, to avoid problems, I would bring the two ends up and then the other two ends up. So I've got all four corners. Give it a twist, and that goes right there. Now, on your side, you can't see diddly poo poo. On my side, it's right there. And then it just depends if you're left or right handed. Ladies and gentlemen, through a special dispensation from the Magicians Working Performer Guild or Union, I have been allowed to actually show you how one trick is done every performance. So I thought I would show you one of my favorite tricks, and if I get a big round of applause, I'll teach you how it's done. They almost always start at that point here. No, 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 no. I do it first, then you applaud, then I teach it to you. Don't mix that up or I'll get lost. When I reach over, let me hold this up. I use my left hand. You want to use your right, use your right. When I come over, let me turn it sideways. I stick my fingers here and I'm going to palm that egg as I catch the handkerchief. See what I just did? This is empty now. Egg is up here. And I just pinch one of the corners. I just naturally let that drop. And while it's down there and I'm shaking this, I turn the egg into that position. You don't want it up and down. You want it, oh crap. Yep. Knew that was going to happen. Hang on. Got to replace the mess. This always happens when I'm trying to watch the monitor to make sure you can see, and I'm not watching my hand. Okay. Yeah, that sucks. But yeah, see, if I'm looking here, I'm not looking over here, and that's a problem. All right, let's take. Okay, ouch. We'll let that suck that up. Okay, so like I said, you want to turn it so it's sideways. And if you've got the dot on it, you want to make sure that's towards your palm. But I've come in, let me do it without the silk. I come in with my fingers and I just scoop it up and I bring the handkerchief with it. I take the handkerchief, wave it a little bit, and I put it at the top of my hand. Egg is sideways. Carefully, because it's a real egg, you're going to start pushing it behind the egg. And the line is if you're watching closely, now you may want to use a smaller handkerchief. I just grabbed this one, I didn't look at all. If you watch, now it really does look like I'm pushing it inside the egg. I'm not, it's going just behind the egg. You say to them, it looks like the handkerchief is getting smaller and smaller. Yeah, this should be a little smaller for the handkerchief. Or you could get a diamond cut one that's a little smaller because this is getting hard and you don't want to mess anything up. But yeah, uh this is probably a 12-incher and it should probably be a 9. But when you've done that, you got it all there, you put it in this hand. Now, the handkerchief is over here. You reach in the pocket, bring out the magic coin, wave, 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 and then show everybody it has turned into an egg. Applause, applause. Well, I told you I would tell you how I did it. It's easy. This isn't a real egg. In fact, if you look, you turn it over, and there's your dot. You can see there's a hole. Now remember, the handkerchief is in this hand. So you see that. In fact, I'll prove it. You bring your hands together and do, like I said, this is a little too big. It looks exactly like it's going in to the so-called fake egg. You take the whole thing out and you say, okay, let's talk you through it. Blah, 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 back and forth. Tell the jokes. There's all sorts of jokes to it. Then you say, once you've got the handkerchief behind the egg, I don't want you to see the hole. So I turn the egg over so the back of the egg is in my hand. You can't see it though. Then I get the coin, you get rid of the handkerchief. I take the coin, I wave it over my hands, and you show there is nothing there. And you never went near that hand other than to do that. Da 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 da. And there is the egg. You just want to be careful that they don't see that dot. Because if they see the dot, then you got to snap your fingers. You got to peel the dot off and then take the egg and break it to show them it's a real egg. If it were I, and it was for a great many years, that's how I do it. Let me give you another example. Okay. First off, the trick is soft soap. You can get wonderful, just wonderful. Oh, there it is. Silks for this now from Tim Sonnefeld. Now, his boxes are big and wide because there's a bunch of other stuff in his routine. I like the original routine, and you use a box about this size. But even if you can find the right soap boxes, because we don't make soap in little boxes anymore. Uh, they can cost as much as $5 a box. Absolutely, Sam. So here's what I do, Sam. Robbins sells these for like $1.10 a box. Gimmick, ready to go. These are the Al Baker popcorn die box. I bought 10. So 11 bucks plus shipping. Now, what I did, remember those Velcro dots? I put 2 here and 2 down here. And the Velcro holds it together. Now, if I'm doing a plain old regular audience, I don't use the gimmick handkerchief. I've got 3 stained, I've got 3 white. The 3 white are in the box. I do the jokes, I open the box, talk about how wonderful popcorn is to clean handkerchiefs. And I poke the handkerchiefs into the gimmick. If you're not aware, if you look in the box, this wall has an extra piece. I'm trying to get my fingers out of the way. So this wall on that side is gimmick. Prime. There we go. See? They go in there. I put the dirty handkerchiefs in there. I close up the popcorn, shake the box. I like this because it's clear the box is upside down. And I open this up and I start taking out 3 clean handkerchiefs. No gimmick handkerchief, they're actually in the box. So you do that, ta-da, they start harassing you. You want me to turn the box around? Hang on. Sure. I have turned. You do all the gags. Now watch. You've opened this. You've opened this. Now, yeah, you could tear it up. But all I do is put my hand in here, take off, pop the Velcro, and you can't see. There's nothing in there. Great trick. Ta-da! But if I'm around an audience of moron magicians who want to be moron magicians, then, because I always have them in the case, I put in the gimmick handkerchief. And even though this is a popcorn die box, I don't use it. I use the gimmick handkerchiefs. So I've gone south. There's nothing in here. And I do all the gags. And I open the box up with my hand suspiciously in place. And then I say, I can see we have some professional magicians out there today. And they know the trick. They're going to tell you this box is gimmicked. There's a false panel right there. And that's where the handkerchiefs are supposed to be. Then I come up and I tear the thing open. They're not, but that's where they're supposed to be. Ain't I a stinker? Okay. I want to make sure that I've covered everything. Any questions about anything we've done? Because I'm going to the rope trick to make my point. P.S. I got, what's the video? Fiber optics the other day. $45, no rope, and it doesn't even tell you the kind of rope you should use. I can guarantee you, It shouldn't be this small stuff that I've got. It's got to be the stuff that Sam turned us on to. Thank you, Sam. See, all my mentoring to you over the years has now produced fruit. And I've always thought you're kind of fruity. No, no, no. Sorry, I'm an ass. Okay. Um, Not much on fiber optics I didn't know. Uh, I'm pretty well familiar with all of the, oh gosh, my brain just froze over, which doesn't surprise me. Uh, George Sands and all of his rope work. And I'm pretty sharp on Professor's Nightmare. There's a few things in there, but really it's just blending George Sands's material with uh, the three card, shoot me now, uh, Professor's Nightmare, three rope mystery. This version kind of comes from there. And again, I don't see anybody commenting, so I guess we're okay. Uh, but if you want to follow along, uh, Sam, where you got the rope, they sell these shears, and these are the shears to have. I mean, I've got other things, but what you're going to want is a hunk of rope, no gimmicks. I would wash this like I've told you before. You tie a knot in each end, wash dry at least 2, 3 times. And then it's softer. You may want to core it. Coring is discussed in the Wilson course, as are most of these moves. I'm going to stop here. I may have gone too much. Probably should have stood up. Like I said, needs to be at least 8 feet. I view myself as 6, and I give it another couple of feet. That's all you need. And the great thing about this is you can do it one of two ways. One way is silently to music. If your audience doesn't speak English, and that's a situation up here in Metro Detroit, you can do an act where they don't have to understand what you say. But see how I've looped that through the finger holes? Uh, so it's set. Oh, Sam, for how many years did I tell you the only thing I can show you now, and I can put it on the forum, is how to make them out of cardboard for a class project. Will Baffle just bought all that David Ginn had because Robbins has none. However, I would say since 3D printing is such a huge thing, you may be able to do them that way if you don't need them in bulk. And by that I mean you're not giving every kid at the party a skyhook. I have some now for my science programs, but I'm looking myself. We'll have to do something, but it's, I warned guys, you look around, Mac Magic is gone. Owens is gone. Abbott's may as well be. All Abbott's does now is promote and sell Magic Maker stuff. They're not making anything up there anymore. And why would I pay Greg's price for Magic Maker stuff? So Point being, strike while the iron is hot. Okay, back to this. The opening to this is George Sands. The middle is my way of cutting into Professor's Nightmare. And then the finish will kill you. But uh, I can either use Michael Feinstein singing Pure Imagination. Well, that's what Robbins was doing, Sam. I don't think they're doing it now because they probably don't sell 1,000 anymore. Now, somewhere here on the table, I haven't done it yet, but I've got the originals that are very differently shaped. And the great thing about those is you take an Avery return address label and it says, birthday party specialist, call Uncle Sam with your number. And that's how I gave them out. Well, I gave them out with my name, Knucklehead. But that's how I gave them out for years. Okay, so you got the rope, got the skizzers. You can talk or not talk, doesn't matter. Part one. First thing you do, and again, this is why you really want to wash them. This is very, very stiff and not very flexible. You want the ends to match when you start cutting, or people will notice you're switching ends. So that's why there's a joke if you're talking. I have a piece of rope with two ends, one on each, and a middle, which is located down here near the center. If I take the skizzers, I can't say skizzers, scissors, I have to say skizzers. And the kids are going to correct you. Yeah, skizzers. Yeah, skizzers. I told you. I can't say scissors. I have to say skizzers. And play with it as long as you want. If I cut off this end, we have a rope with no end on one, middle, and one end left on the other. If I do this, we have a rope with no ends, just middle, which is perfect because I have to find the center of the rope, which is easy because all I have left is middle. Now, you don't want this loop to be too big because you're going to have to cut it away. So I come down, put my thumb in here, and this move I learned from somebody who said this is how Max Malini did it. That's pretty amazing if you're up close. If you're not, it really doesn't matter. When I come up, I turn my hand, see? So it's my two fingers in there doing the work, not the thumb. And when I come up now, I pinch that end, and you can't tell. I could actually hold the rope out and you could follow it along. But you come right there, I take the skizzers, I cut the rope in half, and I have two perfectly even pieces of rope, which of course you do not. Yeah, that's a problem. Well, there's an easy way to fix it. Now, I don't look, I just can tell. If I pick up and it's the long piece, I say the line one way. If I pick up and it's the shorter piece, I say the line the other way. What I do is I take the long piece of rope. Now you get ready by pointing, and I'm going to touch it. See how I turned it down to the short piece of rope. Also notice I've got this so they can look, and it looks like two pieces of rope. I'm going to come up, come here. Notice I don't let it go right away. And I start all over again. Get the rope about like this. The ends are even. Spin them in your hands. And I'll show you the rope trick that never gets any applause. Although I was hoping it was gonna. As you say that line, Billy McComb, do the joke when they're laughing, do the move. I'm going to fold, this is the piece here. I'm going to fold it in my hand. I'm going to grab it with my left thumb come over here and pull the ropes out. Now, that's just the folded end, George Sands. And you look and you say, now we've got two perfectly even pieces of rope. Oh, yeah, not quite even. So you cut off a couple pieces. Yeah, it's still not even. Slow this down because you want someone to yell, cut the other end. Cut the other end. Ooh, I did that once. It's painful. Now, you cut till you just have two pieces up here. My three fingers are holding the loop. I pinch the two pieces in the crook of my index finger and put my thumb under here. Then I say, okay, let's do it the hard way. I liked it. Well, now you're clean. You put it here, you put one end here, one end here, say the magic words, twin pines, and of course the rope is back together. That's phase one. Now, the pull through rope cutting is in Wilson. It's also in Tarbell, but it's in Wilson. The great thing about the pull through, you're not going to let them say, stop now. I pull until, and I adjust so that I've pretty much got the professor's nightmare position. If I cut that loop and I cut that loop, those are not three sizes. It's three pieces of rope in the professor's nightmare position. It's really a short, medium, and long rope here. And you gotta look just like I've taught before. You're going to do the count so they all look alike. You bring the pieces up into your hand and you do the flash restoration. And now you show them that those ropes are three different sizes. And now they're going, you put them back. And if you're talking, you say, okay, I fooled you because of the optical illusion. Let me show you. Now you gather up the ends, just like you would for Professor's Nightmare. And you do a quick separation and say, see? Now you think the ropes are the same size, even though you can see right there's the little one, there's the medium one, there's the long rope. The optical illusion, however, is almost perfect. But now, and you've just finished the nightmare section, I will show you an amazing magic trick. I will make these three separate pieces of rope come back together into one long rope. Now listen carefully. First, you're going to put this rope either around your neck or over your shoulder. You're going to come back to it. Now this is the little rope. What you're going to do is start tying a knot. Don't go nuts, but you want to use all of that rope. You want it all to be bundled up and nothing exposed. Now, that's about as far as I can get it. I could trim it if I wanted to, but I can handle that. Now, that's just tied around the rope. It will slide. I come down here, I take these two ropes, and I'm going to tie a legitimate square knot. There we go. And that's a real square knot. And you do not, dang it, come here. You don't want it to slip. So you've got this situation. And you say, ladies and gentlemen, kaboom, one solid piece of rope. Couple of blemishes. What you expect? Magic? Now, get ready. This hand palms that knot right now. And I bring my hand up, see that I'm miming, put the knot in this hand. I'm then going to pull. You think the knot's up here. It's really right there on the square knot. I put that in the hand. And now you're going to pinch that great big knot as you do this. Now, some people, when I've shown this, want to do this thing where they actually toss the knot over to the other hand. Yeah, you could, but then there's just that much of a chance to drop it and mess up your ending. I think doing that, standing here, and the knots are gone, I'll be right back. Questions if you have them. Oh my gosh. Now, let me say this to you guys. I won't say it publicly because Daryl is gone, and I'm well aware. Sure, it's in Wilson, but okay. I know all about Daryl's rope routine. This predates it by about 15, 20 years. Mark probably went back to the castle, probably showed it around, but this is way better. Okay, now let me. Okay, and let's get rid of that. And this goes over there. Okay. Mm. Well, Nick, that's quite possible. Have to see what the cost is. Have to see who to contact. But may I say something? Just as easy to get them done in China. And if we're going to go to that expense, why don't we have them make the originals? This whole thing is computerized now. Just saying. Okay. Let me get a. I don't want this to be too long. Okay. I've got a loop and I've got the rope through the loop. And again, this is in Mark Wilson, you knucklehead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the long rope and I'm going to make a loop. And I move most of the long rope to the other side of the knot. So I've got this sort of thing now. Everything is on the back side of the small rope. And I'm gonna, which I can't do because see, that's how I messed it up. I just should have said, no, get something a little bigger. Ouch, come here. Okay, you're basically going to make a loop and tie the short rope around that loop. So I'm going to use the pull through method to get there. And this is, see, this stuff is just so tight and it's not, see, you can see that it's not loosening up at all. Okay, now try to turn this for you. I make a loop. I bring this over the end and make a loop. And then I'm going to tie the little knot around the loop. So we end up here. And it doesn't have to be around the bent part. It can be where it starts to come together. Doesn't matter. Because what's holding it is it's inside the rope. If I come here and slowly pull, that's all there is to it. Ouch. Ow. Any other questions? Uh-oh. Reed Wilson, Nick, you knucklehead. Today, I got a lot of stuff I got to do around here. But I'll find the. Hang on. Get up and flip and do it. Maybe. Well, I know it's up here somewhere, but it's just. And of course, I really didn't want to do that. I'll deal with it later. Ouch. But I've got the originals, and the originals are like an S, and they're flat, so you can stick things to them. Any other questions, guys? I think the rope trick is worth the price of admission. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Anything, because I'm going to call it a day. Oh. Well, Sam, and I think it's there already. You got to look up in the files, but I know that I've got the whole thing from my science guy days that the teachers just bring cardboard or cardboard boxes and you cut like 3 pieces to the template and glue them together. And now they work as a belt hook and the kids can do experiments. That would be way number 1. And when I'm finished here, I'll look it up and put it there. But I've also, like I said, the original sky hooks were very different from the ones that they started making. And now, trouble again. Okay, don't think there's any more questions. I'm going to get busy with this and a great many other things. As always, thanks for coming. Yeah, Sam, the true story, that rope trick is on my comedy DVDs, but it wasn't supposed to be. When I did the live theater show and Guy Cameron was filming, he saw 2 things that were not on or supposed to be on the DVD. He saw the rope trick done to music, and he saw the pink lemonade stand, my version of water to wine to water. The pink lemonade stand blew him away because he said after the show, Mark, it's 2010 or whatever it was. And you're doing a trick that's over 100 years old and you killed that room with it. So it's there. I got an email from him to write it up, and it's a PDF file on one of the DVDs. The other was he saw that rope trick and he said, Mark, you've got to put that out there. People need to know that's yours. So that's why when you see it on the DVDs, you'll see it again, but it's written what I'm doing because we never thought we were going to do that. So it wasn't on the revelation table. But yeah, now what I'm going to do, Sam, not till the end of the month, I'm going to buy, or what do they call it at that rope place you were kind enough to share with us? Well, where you get all the you get basically samples of everything they make. It's like $60, but I'm going to buy the samples. I'm going to fool with all of them. And then I'll tell you guys what ropes to get for the various things we do. Anything else, guys? Well, then. Oh, did I mention David sent me one of these? So now I've got 3. And I am actually training and learning how to do ventriloquism good enough to do Buford, the Bashful Genie. It's in the puppet show. All right, guys. Don't forget Sven Gulli. Oh, my heavens. You'll be thinking of me as you're throwing things at the screen. But as I always say, I don't give a crap what the other guys are doing. Because, end of the day, guys, it only took 9.5 years to realize that in spite of what my parents and family said and did, I really do have value. And let me go back to where we started. Why do they fight so hard against your job is to fool them? It's because they can't do it. The same people who say, I'm doing this for the Lord, and boy, do they get mad when I call them. Then I have to say, well, look a little closer at Dwayne Laughlin. He's been saying it for 30 years. You suck. But they know they can't do it. They're not mad that I rose the bar. They're mad that I said there was a bar. And you'll always, always nail them if you work harder than they do. Hang on. I got to show you this one thing. I mean, for example, I guarantee you that there's somebody on YouTube explaining copper, silver, brass. Aren't those gorgeous? These are the Jack Carpenter coins. And, oh, Nick, you know that book I sent you that had that wonderful 4-ring routine to a poem in it? It's got the routine for these too. And that routine will kill you. It's so good. But in this version, the coins jump around, and at the end, they all disappear. Well, today, that's how it's going to be. You're going to have to get them made yourself. I think it's foolish. I think it would have been way smarter to make the Palmo big enough to do Pop Hayden's color changing Hank with the 24-inch silks. But I don't try to tell nobody nothing. All right. Hang on, because I know that it's in here somewhere. What is this? These. all sorts of coins. These, okay, just give me a second because what I want, I know, is in here somewhere. Ooh, that's the wax. That's this. Hang on. Ah! I know. Ah. Okay. Let's say, oh, this I got from a master maker. It is what they call a hook coin. Reed Bobo can do a lot with this, and it's amazing. Okay, guys, I'm gonna do a strolling gig, and somebody is looking, trying to figure out what I do. He comes up and says, "I got you. It's right here. That's a magnet." So then I have to say, "Oh, wait a minute. Actually, it's copper, so it can't be a magnet." But get ready, boys and girls. Have you ever seen anything as gorgeous as this is? And yes, that's exotic hardwood, hand turned, and if you can see any way that the magnet got put in there. Now, this particular type of monkey nuts, or whatever they call them, these are tiny. But let me assure you, I can do the whole routine. These are the load balls. And that sort of dismisses the whole thing about magnets. But even Big Bang Theory did an episode where they gave Howard and Bernadette grief because Howard was at the birthday party to do magic, and you had an obnoxious kid in the back with his cell phone looking up the tricks. And that's exactly what happens nowadays. Well, it's very difficult to look up sleight of hand or have something so old that it's not up there anymore. But I would suggest before we say adieu, just think Dunninger. Nick, you want to know where it goes? The birdcage. When I step to the side to get the rope and the scissors for the rope routine, as I'm talking, I unhook the parachute nylon from this wrist. The cage is on this side. And I just reach up with this hand. This one just drops. Jeff would put the rope and the scissors like this. That's right, Sam. And then Jeff would reach and grab that vanishing bird cage, and he'd go way south. You never saw him because I was at the edge of the curtain line. But I would reach over, get it, and come back. Cage is long gone. By the time we get to the straitjacket, there's nothing to see when I take the jacket off. Cage is long gone. You just have to think about it. But until next week, turn blue, scratch glass, but don't get caught. And I'll see you then. Bye bye for now.